Welcome, everybody, to Radicalized Truth Survives. I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with Jim Storson, High Fidelity. Am I muted? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Doe?
Yeah.
You can hear me, Jim? High Fidelity will be with us in just a minute. This is our weekly recap of our previous episode and whatever news we feel is worth pointing out. I don't know why, Jim, but I was just thinking about how we're always drawing parallels between what happened now and what happened in Germany 100 years ago. And I was just thinking about how, so many people after Germany was exposed and their crimes were exposed and everything that Hitler did and his cronies did were exposed. So many people are just like, we just didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't see. We didn't know. And it's like, I know that our show is based on radicalization, but there's just no way that anybody paying even the slightest bit of attention can't know that we are walking right, headfirst into a dictatorship. Even if your full policy is just to own the libs so you don't care, you know what's going on, people know. So it's just what's been on my mind. Certainly, there wasn't the type of vibrant, independent reporting that was relentlessly exposing what was happening. There were reporters that were exposing it, but right now, people do have access to, truthful information if they want to seek it out. Look at our friend Rich Logis. He sought it out, figured out what was going on, left MAGA, and now dedicates himself to encouraging more people to leave what he calls the MAGA cult. So I'm just saying, however this turns out, people know what's going on, I think. So
look, in this line of work, there is always a sort of basic question that you ask about the bad guys, right? What is the motivation? What drives them? And sometimes it's purely brainwashing, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people get indoctrinated into something and literally just become, sort of replaced. But there's a very large spectrum of people that are various stages of knowing complicity. And I say this not just for people on the right, but also people on the left. I mean, we've got a whole pundit class. We've got a whole cable news network class. We've got, corporate media in general. And I hate to sound like this in a way, but it is, complicit, compromised, and in many ways intentionally, pushing us into this. And so, I think yes, of course, there are people who know exactly what they are doing. There's also a sort of mass psychosis factor, right? Flynn, speaking of one of the devils, said it the other day. It's the Mandela effect. He brought it up himself. When you hear, lies or, and I will add to lies, normalization over and over and over again, right? If you're told over and over again that the problem with Donald Trump is really these legal cases, right? That the solution to all of this is somehow going to be through the normal politics. It's another version of intentionally allowing something to go on because it benefits you. Because if you're a cable network, having two equal sides going at each other is the most profitable place to be. It just is. And I will land this particular plane here. I am very worried about this hush money trial. Deeply worried about it. In many ways, to me, it seems like the worst case scenario. It is by far the weakest case. of any of them. It is by far the most sort of trivial in terms of actual criminal behavior. Very, very likely won't involve a jail sentence and will have as fodder for fucking right-wing QAnon, everybody else, Stormy Daniels and Michael fucking Avenatti, and oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare. And I bring that up in this context because the media is going to fucking eat it up. Just like they did with the Fannie Willis trial. Boy, even though she wasn't on fucking trial. There was no reason for her to be demeaned for days and days and days by a bunch of not only the assholes in the courtroom, but the pundits on TV. Like, oh, she should have been, she should have thought of that. And,
I know.
I'm just very tired of not just the people on the right who know better, but the people who should, be standing up against them who, don't.
Okay, so I got a bunch to say, but high fidelity, welcome. We're talking about how no matter what happens in November, people should know what they're walking into. There's been enough information to warn people. Jim just made some really good points. I've got some follow-ups. What say you?
I have a hard time when these pundits go on their platforms and say things like the Department of Justice has bigger fish to fry than Mike Flynn. I'm sorry, but I can't think of anybody else who's running around my country right now trying to start a theocratic terrorist movement that's going to lead to insurgency and violence and ultimately like the attempted overthrow of our government again. But if you think there are more important things than that going on, okay, I guess we have different priorities. Thanks, media.
Well,
Whatever.
I appreciate what you just said. What I think is that we're in the suck deeper and longer than most people. They're not going like Jim, I don't know how you do it. Even when you just show highlights of your week and what you've been researching in our various meetings, it's just, I am horrified at what's going on. I don't understand how it's allowed to continue. This is not a free speech thing. This is another attempt at overthrowing our country. A study came out showing that 1/5 of people polled. I have to look up what the actual numbers were. Believe that violence is the only way out. I would posit the numbers are probably higher than that poll based on the research. I think there's a disconnect between those who still believe the norms are going to save us and the suck that we wade into every single day, which tells us something different and which warns of terrible dangers. And I got a bunch of stuff I want to say, but go ahead and jump in, Jim.
I mean, look, I'm coming up on 4 years of this shit. And at some level, nothing surprises me anymore. But I watching a guy who, I mean, even if you want to be the most normie person in the fucking world, pled guilty to lying about interfering with U.S. government relations with Russia. Yeah. Even if you don't want to fucking buy any of the rest of it, and that guy who openly was cooperating with Russians in 2016, then openly he was the guy in the White House when the wild protest tweet went out. He's the one everybody was saying he's a fucking general, blah, 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 fight like a Flynn, hold the line. I was fucking there. Yeah. He fucking did it. And The day before, what does he do? Goes on Alex Jones. You know, we won this election. Donald Trump is still president. Then went outside because he was in the Willard when he said that. And then he went outside and said it to his digital soldiers. It fucking pointed at the Capitol and said, you know, the patriots died for our country. It compared the people who died in our fucking nation's wars overseas fighting our enemies, compared them to the brainwashed people that had gathered to attack the Capitol. And they all fucking knew what they were doing. They wore shirts. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
So,
I got a whole bunch of stuff to say.
so I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah.
The fact. So landing the planes, where I was going. He's now on a bus, going to 35 fucking cities, all around the country, to churches, and who's he meeting with? Insurrectionists and foreign agents and whatnot. Who's he bringing with him? Insurrectionists, literal planners of the insurrection and physical violent insurrectionists are on the bus with him to run around the country. What do you think he's doing? What do you think he's fucking doing? And so, you know, it just, beyond the just voluminous, horrific psyops that he's just doing all the fucking time, right? Forget about that. He's obviously fomenting some sort of national insurrection, and it is astonishing to me that not only will our law enforcement not do anything about it, but the fucking press won't even mention it. You know, it's like the dude is fucking invisible. This is the damnedest thing.
Before I move on to my bullet points here, can you tell our viewers who he trusts more than Joe Biden, according to his own words? And of course, we're talking about Flynn. Can you tell our viewers who he said he trusts more than Biden?
Did we have a clip? Do we have that? Hi-Fi?
That one you wanted me to make sure we had?
Mm-hmm. No, not that one. No, the other one, the one you wanted about, because we're talking about Putin.
Yeah.
Mike Flynn has said, I don't know, 50 times in the last couple of weeks, you know, that Vladimir Putin is far superior in any number of ways than our president. You know, and it's not just that it's our it's Biden is not as good as Putin. It's the West, our degenerate, godless culture, you know, is worse than what Vladimir Putin is offering. I mean, it's as clear as fucking day.
Okay.
And says it out loud. So
okay. So while you look for that clip, Hi-Fi, I want to go.
Remember Hi-Fi, the one you asked me for? You asked me for it. Silly boy.
You know what? Give me 2 seconds and I might just find it for you.
Okay. Because he got mad. He got mad at a podcaster. So there it's funny because he will like out of his mouth say how wonderful and beautiful and awesome Putin is, and then he will flip the fuck out if anybody else mentions it or mentions him sitting with Putin. And you know, he's lost his fucking cool a number of times about it, in ways that you know look almost like seizures.
Yeah.
It's not, he gets real mad about it.
Anyway. Truth is kryptonite to these guys. They have to have their own controlled truth. So yes.
I mean, his entire this tour, and I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've seen all the clips, and I've listened to this fucking guy talk about it for hundreds of hours. So, and I've seen all of the testimonials of people coming out of it. It is designed to turn Mike Flynn into a martyr, a persecuted,
Yeah.
figure, and this is important, to put him above Donald Trump. And
Well,
I don't think people understand like the number of different ways that Flynn has been undermining Trump for for a long time now, but really start like on this tour, he's making it very clear, like, this is about me.
yeah.
They came after me first,
Mhm.
right? Like, the whole thing is about aggrandizing himself in place of Donald Trump. I mean, you can't see his fucking Trump's picture anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
It's nowhere.
this is his big
So,
chance. This is his big chance, do or die. He's been at this for a really long time,
it is.
relentlessly, and this is his big time to shine here. So I I have a few things, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about episode 92. But one is, because of the acceleration of fake news sites, misleading sites, doppelganger sites, which are designed to look like legitimate news sites, as well as what are called pink slime sites. Same kind of concept. We talked a little bit about this last week. I'm coming up with ways for people to be able to protect their news sphere and protect their psyches during this crazy time. And one thing that David Pepper said that I think is really brilliant is expect it. And so don't get engaged with the outrage of the New York Times daily fucked up headline. Expect media to fail us right now. They've consistently failed us. Corporate and legacy media has consistently failed us since 2016. Expect them to fail us. Cheer those who are getting it right. So when you see somebody get it right, as you did last week, Jim, you cheer them. You cheer the people getting it right. Expect the failures. In addition to that, he said that none of these court cases are keeping Trump off the ballot in November. So don't sit there and think that watching the circus of the interference trial, the hush money interference trial, is going to do anything to save us. That is going to distract from doing the things that we need to do to win. So number one, expect media to fucking fail us right now. They have shown that that is exactly what they're going to do. Celebrate those who are getting it right. Support those who are getting it right. And the other thing that I think is really important is that two critical things happened in the last few days. The foreign minister of France came out and said there's absolutely no point in communicating with Russian officials because they lie. Now, it may have taken some years to get to that point, but that's very important. So hang on to that data point. And then our U.S. commander in Europe. Okay.
I have one for that too. So when we come back to it.
Okay, I'll make a note if you forget. But the U.S. commander, our U.S. military commander in Europe, said that Russia's chronic lies are destroying the world. So you've got a leader in France and you've got a leader of the U.S. military coming to the same conclusion, ultimately different ways to get to the same point. So I'm going to posit that those people like Tucker Carlson, who goes and sits on Putin's lap, Alex Jones, who platforms Putin's top propaganda, Solofiev, Mike Flynn, who is going around saying, "Ain't Putin so great?" That if we have top leaders in France and top military leaders saying there's no point in communicating with Russia and Russia's chronic lies or attack on the world, then I say we turn our lenses on the propagandists who are basically the foot soldiers to accelerate Putinism here in the West. And we look at them and we say, why are we communicating with them if they are basically communicating with the chronic liars who are helping to destroy the world? So I think that those two things are very important in how we view and how we talk about these chronic accelerating liars doing Putin's work here in the West. One more thing, but you guys go next.
The chronic word is annoying to me. Chronic is a, you know, is usually a condition of something that you have to fucking live with forever. I'm sorry, but the world cannot live like when you call a fascist a chronic problem, you are completely miscategorizing what a fascist is, because fascists are not a chronic problem. They will not stop. That is what fascists are. That's like our mistake was that we thought Hitler was a chronic problem, right?
Okay.
He was not a fucking chronic problem.
He's a terminal.
He was an increasingly acute problem until he became nearly a terminal one for the entire fucking planet, right? So I am not appreciative, frankly, of the, you know, the way that our military seems to be kind of constantly soft pedaling this fucking problem that we can see right in front of us. I wanted to mention about Macron and the fact that the French are just like, fuck it, why should we talk to these liars? Mike Flynn, one of his favorite complaints about Joe Biden is that in the interview with Tucker, Putin said that he hadn't spoken to Joe Biden in 2 years. And this is a huge scandal for Mike Flynn, even though the White House and the Kremlin are in contact all the time, and it is just a you know, just another example of how this fucking guy constantly is trying to bring us literally together with Russia. And fuck him. I didn't grow up in Russia. I don't like Russia. I don't like the dictator who runs it. And I don't like the fact that he's trying to murder my friends over there in Ukraine.
Yeah. So two more points from me, and then Hi-Fi, do you have anything to say to that, or you want me to keep going?
Well, I just want to say that, like, so this is how Mike Flynn reacts when he's asked about Vladimir Putin.
Well, I mean, at that moment, or what do I think of him? I mean, Vladimir Putin is
overall.
Vladimir Putin is a longtime leader of Russia. You know, it was, you know, having gone to that particular event. You know, I mean, Jesse Ventura was at that event. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay, well, I'm just telling. So Jesse Ventura was a governor. I was just some retired general going to an
Lieutenant
event
General
that I was doing as my speakers bureau. So I was just, you know, like, I'm going to be there. I didn't know that Putin was going to be there, but
Lies.
Jesse Ventura, former governor of the state of Michigan, was at that event. So you don't know that. You don't know. Nobody knows that. Mikhail Gorbachev was at that event. Jill Stein sat at that table. Now, she ran as the Communist Party of America, you know, nominee.
Yeah.
Do you think they gave her shit? No. But they go after Mike Flynn, you know, for sitting at a table who I didn't know that Putin was going to be there or sit at that table. So the fact that you're asking me that question, it's like, what do you have on your mind? Like, what do you think?
I'm just curious. I mean, I'm fascinated by.
I mean, do you think that I had something up my sleeve and, okay, me and Vlad are going to take over the world, or what?
Me and Vlad are going to take over the world, or what?
So
I'm sampling that shit.
No, I'm sorry, Heidi, but that fucking freak out is especially funny because literally the same day, Flynn was on a different podcast saying that he was actually in Russia for the military, that he was on a mission from the military, and that he has all these like mission documents, or I think it's John Solomon, who's his guy at you know, one of his propagandists, who was pushing this thing that no, actually Flynn was there as an agent of the military. So in order to get intelligence on the Russians. That was his claim. So either he had no fucking idea why he was there, and it was the Speaker's Bureau and whatever, or he was there on a secret spy mission from Russia, from the United States. Neither of those things are true. What happened was Mike Flynn sat next to Vladimir Putin. He sat next to the head of RT. He went on panels. He had speeches. He had meetings at Sergei Kislyak's home while he was there.
He was paid also by
well, yes,
Russians
he
to
was
be there.
also paid upwards of $65,000 to be there, but whatever. So the idea that he had no idea is just really funny. And so the kid in this video was trying to bring up Putin in a kind of positive. He wasn't trying to give Flynn shit about it.
Yeah.
But Flynn went bonkers, and I found it endlessly amusing because he just changes his story every. Oh, by the way, there's one other thing, and I wish I don't know if you can find it or anything, but Ivan Raiklin, Flynn's little buddy, this little munchkin insurrectionist who's running around on tour with Flynn, has a wall of Flynn's enemies, a chronological wall of all of his enemies with literal string in between them. And Vladimir Putin and Mike Flynn are like center stage, and everything is coming off of it. Like, there's all these operations to hurt Mike Flynn that are coming off of this completely innocent operation that was also a military mission, and also, he had no idea Putin was going to be there.
I just have 5 words. I'm counting them to make sure it's 5. The lady doth protest too much. Maybe that's 6 words. The lady doth protest too much. So that's what I hear when I hear that. And these guys are pro at psyops. You played something last week in one of our meetings where I got like my blood just turned cold, because even though it sounds crazy to those of us who study this world, the psychological operations, the insertion of the word God every 17 seconds, the insertion of the word Jesus and Christian every 6.5 seconds. It's like it's very sophisticated weaponization of believers, weaponizing their empathy, traumatizing them to the right to vote against all the things that actually make America America. And it's traumatic to hear it, even knowing what we know. Comments? I got something else. Go ahead, Jim.
I thought maybe high five. Did you have that other video, Tarak, that asked?
No, I do not have that one. Oh, the one that you asked for?
Yeah.
Yes, that one I do have. You want that?
Because on this note of weaponizing language, right? So, and so one of the things that Flynn constantly does is quote Sun Tzu, and that all war is deception. He'll tell you that to your fucking face, right? And so Flynn has had 150 zillion excuses for why he has no idea what QAnon is or whatever, right? So what Flynn has been doing of late is every single podcast, maybe 90% of them, he intentionally brings up a QAnon phrase that is written in Q drops 11 times, which is that Flynn knows where the bodies are buried. So, because I don't know why, but I'm this guy, but I listened to like 4 hours of Mike Flynn's podcast this morning, and it was just like every fucking time. It's short. It's a minute of just sort of a few clips that I distilled from the 4 hours of pain that I endured.
God, Jim.
This piece of shit.
God bless you.
But I think it's a relevant point.
Keep talking about it for 30 seconds because I accidentally exported it in the wrong format.
Can I say something that I don't want to forget to say during this broadcast that I think is very important?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because of the acceleration of news sites designed to trick us into believing they're legit, as well as this is all basically the ramp up to the election. Two things: the U.S. sanctioned 2 Russians for creating 60 doppelganger sites that look like The Guardian or look like legit news sites, and all they are Russian propaganda sites. And I bring it up because if you know nothing about nothing, one of my favorite quotes from Anna Nicole Smith, you can still tell if a site is a Russian propaganda site. It's very easy. All you have to do is look at what you're reading and ask yourself, step out and say, who benefits? If the Russians benefit, the US Putinists benefit, and if Ukraine loses, you know you're not looking at a legit site for the most part. If everything is telling you Putin, Trump, shiny hero, and Ukraine, corrupt, laden with, Nazis, you can pretty much bet you're not looking at a legit news site. And it sounds funny, but it's like if you're reading something where there's a cute puppy or maybe there's a little lost bear, and then all of a sudden here's a great profile, of a strong looking, Putin protecting the world from Ukraine. Well, you can pretty much, guess that is a propaganda site and not really The Guardian or whatever they're trying to fake themselves to be. So always, a lot of them are sophisticated, but if that's who benefits, it's likely bullshittery. So,
yeah, pink slime is a good word for it. There's some pink slime listening to us right now. One
more thing about pink.
Okay, go ahead, Heidi, and then I'm going to.
I was going to say one more thing about pink slime is a media raider site called NewsGuard, which helps people figure out what's trustworthy, just reported that there is 1,197 quote unquote pink slime sites operating in the US, and they're designed to mimic local newspaper sites. So if you're confused, and just know that we're in a state right now where all we have is about 1,200 legit local newspaper sites. But if they're highly partisan, if they don't disclose their ties to dark money and lobbying groups, it's more than likely pink slime. We're getting a little bit better at more quickly identifying what I call dirty news, but we still are not dealing with the high level propagandists, the Tucker Carlson's, the Alex Jones. You guys know what I'm talking about. So,
or the Mike Flynn. So here's Mike Flynn.
Why Mike Flynn? I answer the question of Flynn knows where the bodies are buried.
General Flynn, it's good to see you again. Saw you a couple of weeks ago at Clay Clark's podcaster retreat. You said, I know where the bodies are buried, and I know who buried them. Pretty powerful.
When the metaphor of knowing where the bodies are buried, you don't get to those levels because you're a dummy. And you're damn right I know where these bodies are buried, and I know how to get to them, and I know who's behind some of this.
People say Flynn knows where the bodies are buried. So, yes, I talked specifically about this issue, and I think that's a fascinating component. There's a phrase, Flynn knows where the bodies are buried, that I mentioned.
I mean, there's an audience out there of Americans that have been, just bombarded with lies and deception.
And both of us are incorruptible. And I will say that matter of factly. There's an incorruptibility in that man right there, and there's an incorruptibility in me.
Okay. That incorruptibility is just phenomenal.
I know, it's funny, right?
Yeah.
But the point about showing him doing that, right, is so I watch on Telegram, I watch on on all of the sort of places, including places on Twitter, where they brag about this shit. Whenever he says that, he absolutely is interacting with QAnon accounts all the time. I have him on Zoom calls with dozens of QAnon accounts, like sharing QAnon slogans. You know, where we go one, we go all, bro. We love you.
Yeah.
You know, fight like a Flint. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's doing it, you know, in public. So you could probably see it in the video there. But I was scrolling through all of the fucking Q drops that have that phrase in it. And the reason I bring this up is not because of some old fucking debate about who's Q. I don't fucking care. What matters is that this fucking guy is weaponizing this very, very large, entrenched, and frankly tired and dangerously tired cult that has been around for, you know, some of them since 2016, you know, coming up on 8 fucking years. And I listened to them, and they, you know, they're frustrated, you know. We just want.
That's
Wow. You know, they just want it to be over. They want the storm. They want it, you know. And so, you know, my concern is, you know, obviously this election. And so the reason I point this stuff out is because I don't want more of, you know, these believers to get psyoped by this guy, because that's what he's doing right now. He's going around the country, you know, building his cult and pitching himself for vice president.
Well, if it was someone of a different faith, it would be called he's traveling around the country building terrorist cells of religious extremists.
Yeah. Imagine if he was going around on tour, you know, extolling the virtues of some extreme version of Islam, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
the flip out would be absolutely insane. That one other thing I just have to say real quick on that note is Flynn is now overtly saying that there's a new narrative about the separation of church and state. Mm-hmm. He is not only, you know, doing the old, oh, we're based on Judeo-Christian values. No, he's saying out loud that there is no separation of church and state, and that it is a new idea that there is. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, again, is because he's feeding into this sort of existential nihilistic worldview that says, you know, it's us versus them.
It's also a Council for National Policy talking point that Mike Johnson has adopted, and various people with tentacles to the Council for National Policy, the dark money umbrella group that funds a lot of this narrative warfare in America. So, yeah. So one thing I want to talk about before we go, because I do want to save some time to show our incredible interview with a Ukrainian playwright who did both her 2 most recent plays. One is called The Hague, and it's as seen through the eyes of a Ukrainian orphan. She's envisioning all of Putin and his cronies getting rung up by The Hague, being seen as the war criminals they are and being prosecuted. And it's nothing short of brilliant. She also has a play about what's called My Mom and the Full-Scale Invasion, about her mom. It's a true story, who refuses to leave Kyiv in this moment. And she's in an area where they're being shelled consistently, but she does it with such her talent as a playwright is just phenomenal. Sasha Denisova. But before we get to that, I have one more thing to say. I was talking to a newsie today who was saying, you know, you had the billionaires who supported Trump for his tax cuts, you know, his one success in his presidency. For billionaires, of course, and wealthy people. And that's all they cared about, right? Some cared about the judges, sure. But for the most part, they wanted their fucking tax breaks, right? So I don't know if Jim's coming back or not. But then J6 happened. And I need Jim for this, so I'll repeat it. J6 happened. And there you are, Jim. So the same people that supported Trump Then when J6 happened, retreated, said, oh, can't do this, bridge too far. They're all fucking back. And it's not because they're memory holding the coup. It's because they want their fucking tax breaks. So I don't even think they care. Uh-oh. What just happened?
No, of course they don't care. They're fucking sociopaths, Heidi. We've discussed this so many times.
Okay, so I'm just saying, like, they don't care who's going around radicalizing who's going around shooting up who. As long as they can get their tax breaks where it's set to expire, they're fine. So that's what I wanted to say about that. I don't know if you heard any of that, Jim.
I did not, because I was trying to multitask briefly, and it fucked me up, and I apologize.
That's okay. You're on.
You guys are bringing me down. I need to talk about something good for a second. So I'd like to talk about this. I'd like to talk about the fact that despite the fact we're looking at an obvious fucking money laundering scheme going on here, and there's all sorts of bullshit around this company, I would like to say that at least the stock price is going down so hard that pretty soon Trump is going to have to pay it hush money.
So I have something I want to say too, Jim and Hi-Fi. One of my readers sent me this great thing, 12 things you should know about Russian trolls. And I will add those who do the work of Russian trolls. Only Russian trolls deny that Russian trolls exist. So only Russian trolls and those who do the work for Russian trolls deny they exist. That's one of my favorite lines about that. They always pretend to be something else other than Russian trolls. Their goal is to destroy democracy. They use lies as weapons. There's so many great things. Whataboutism, to change the topic when you mention Trump or Putin's crimes. They claim both sides are the same, to demotivate Democrats. This is all really good stuff. I'll post on it later at Betty Dangerous.
I just have to say, I like Russian trolls don't exist. It is not a fucking Igor is not sitting in St. Petersburg trying to convince you about things with whataboutism. Almost never. It is almost always Americans doing this, at least in America. They use the local
Canadians.
Well, yeah, I mean the point.
They use the. Sorry, I wasn't shushing you, Heidi.
No, I know.
They use the local population because the point is to radicalize the local population to attack itself.
Yeah,
that is the entire point of it. So there's an old sort of myth that is used, and it's not. I'm not saying anything against you or the piece, which all those things are correct, but these aren't Russian trolls for the most part. They're, for the most part, Americans who are compromised in one way or the other to do the business of the Russians, even if they don't know they're fucking doing the business of the Russians. Even if they think, oh, all I'm doing is trolling that guy. Right? Yeah,
right.
What is the effect that they're having? What is the reason for it? Who's behind it? Eventually you get where it goes. But,
I do.
It's not fucking Igor.
Hold on, no, my turn.
Okay, go ahead.
My turn. Right now. Because we need to talk about American Canadian trolls. Because where did the trolls come from? Well, if you listen to the podcast that Jim and I did about Anonymous, you'd know. Something awful. 4chan, 420chan, Wizard-chan, 8chan. Noticing a pattern? Maybe? I don't know.
So
and then hold on. I'm not done. Because now we have this bullshit special on Netflix. Once again, same fucking cast of characters. Oh, we added some new ones. Right? Trying to obscure QAnon. And one of them, Mr. Aubrey Cottle, who infiltrated Jim's organization.
All right.
2020. Hold on.
No.
That son of a bitch owes me 1,200. Oh, I'm sorry. 12,000. Sorry. $12,624.24 Canadian. And since Mr. Aubrey Cottle is famous now and he's doing his crypto engineering, he can pay me back.
Okay, thank you for that hi-fi moment. So I reported a lot on the 2016 election interference, and Igor did exist, and Igor was prosecuted or indicted by our Justice Department. But yes, the evolution is and was those in America, though troll farms in the Philippines. It's a multinational part of narrative warfare, part of active measures. So it's not the caricature that we think of anymore, but that caricature from the Russian military and the various, St. Petersburg groups did exist. They branched out now into Africa. So many of the farms come in Africa, but yes.
Look, the IRA still exists. The IRA still does, not in the IRA form, but
yes,
all of the same, shit is going on. And yes, there are Russian, accounts that amplify things,
but
right?
it's much bigger now.
But the IRA was just a part of the amplification process of shit that was coming from Americans.
Yeah.
And, well, not just Americans, but WikiLeaks, not American, exactly. And by the way, fucking Biden better not release that motherfucker. I will leave.
I understand. We can only take so much.
Somebody floated a balloon and you might let him go. And I was like,
no.
Better not.
They better not.
No.
Yeah.
He is a linchpin of this entire thing.
Yeah.
From Snowden to
Manning, Snowden.
Pizzagate, Lucifer 2, Anonymous, the PayPal hacks, the DDoSing of PayPal, all of it.
Palantir, Peter Thiel, all that shit.
I know.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
That was the perfect palate cleanser to go to a woman who understands everything that we're talking about, because her family and everybody she grew up with and loves is on the actual physical front lines in Ukraine. So I would like you very much to show one of the clips from Sasha Denisova, sorry, and our beautiful translator, Marina.
I just wanted to say high five. That was 10 out of 10. Perfect.
You guys are gonna be really mad because apparently all the Sasha clips I cut. I give it. Exported
I take everything back. All my compliments I take back.
I know, right? I exported everything in the wrong format.
Okay, so can't you at least show the mother clip that you showed at my so the play my mom and the full scale invasion.
We'll talk a little bit about Sasha, and I'll get some stuff cut out real fast.
Just
do it for me.
If you have,
I can do it.
If you have the clip, if you can find the clip of her mother giving a speech as if she was a general, it's quite amazing. One of the really cool things. One of the really cool things that came out of the conversation with Sasha was I've talked a lot about something I learned from Timothy Snyder called the Executed Renaissance, where Stalin purged Ukrainian playwrights and reporters and, poets, artists, filmmakers. And so there is now a renaissance that's occurring in this moment in Ukraine, where bookstores in Kyiv have long lines outside, but people are like reading books of their own historians, learning their own history, reading works by their own reporters and playwrights. Same thing with theater, same thing with their just all of their arts are just thriving right now in this war, which is really incredible. And when you talk to people, as we have, Vladimir Demchenko, the filmmaker and soldier in Ukraine, our new friend Sasha, they're always calling on literary references because they freaking read books. And what is going on in America? It's staggering how many people no longer read. haven't picked up a book in years. And what is being taken advantage of right now is that lack of, in-depth awareness about history and the arts and things that are actually really important to make informed decisions about democracy and freedom. And I think we can turn to Ukraine and see those long lines out of bookstores right now and be very inspired by that. Did I talk long enough, High Fidelity?
You did. Here's the speech of her mother from Mama and the Full-Scale Invasion.
For me to say everything I haven't said.
Sasha, can't you see I'm busy?
I imagine my mother delivering an address to the nation.
Dear Ukrainians, the situation is grave on all fronts. The enemy strives to catch Kiev, our motherland's heart. I am in constant contact with the heads of allied nations. Today, I want to address you, my compatriots. Everyone who can put up resistance should enlist in territorial defense units. They have issued weapons to Igor and I. In regards to provisions, Ukrainians, we have provisions. I just found some buckwheat on the balcony, sorted through it, it's fine. Buckwheat can last 10 years if need be. Oh, you grind down carrots, beets, and peppers with salt, put it in the fridge. Do you know the password? Palinetsa. That is correct. You buy a loaf of bread, put it in the freezer, and it's good for days. If power gets cut off, keep butter submerged in cold water, like my grandma did during the war. Replace the water the next day, nothing will happen to the butter. Meat goes on the balcony. Borscht is to be boiled and boiled again and boiled again. Got bugs, pick them out. Potatoes are growing sprouts, cut them off. The enemy's success or failure rests on our resourcefulness. One woman in the Golosaevsky district shot down a drone with a jar of pickles. Stay the course. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Plug your windows with soft foam. Sleep by load-bearing walls. I can't go down to the bomb shelters, not with feet like mine, but you should go. Do not ignore air raid signals. Go and sleep there!
That was a clip from the production by the Wilma Theater, and her real mother, Olga, got to pick the actress, got to pick all the actors, hand writes thank you cards to everybody who says kind things about her daughter. And her mother is right there outside Kyiv dealing with frickin' drones and terror all day long. And because her mom was actually born in a bomb shelter during World War II, she refuses to leave her home. But wow, right?
Maybe if the United States would get off their ass and provide Ukraine with the arms they need and the air defense they need and the Patriot missiles they need, we wouldn't have to worry about Sasha's mom. But we've got, this wet noodle Jake Sullivan, and I watched our Secretary of Defense chastise Ukraine, who is going through their second genocide. If you don't know what the Holodomor is, look it up. This is round 2 that Russia is doing this to them. And we're sitting aside. Never again is until it's politically expedient, I guess. What the hell is going on here?
Well, Putin owns members of Congress who are...
Well, there you go.
And Trump is Moscow's man. So we do what we can, and we show you some of the greatest artists and minds of our time. And Sasha's plays are super incredible. And I suppose you don't have any clips from her at all? Nothing yet? Can you find something maybe? High Fidelity, so our viewers who have not seen the episode 92 can actually hear from her directly. Jim, what did you think of that wonderful clip?
Actually, hold on, because I found another clip, but it's kind of long, but I want to watch it anyway.
Hold on.
Hold on. If you got to watch your favorite clip, I got to watch my favorite clip. Okay.
Well, you got to explain what's going on here. Is this from The Hague?
This is from The Hague.
You have to set it up.
This is Petrushev's defense of his actions during the second genocide in Ukraine.
From The Hague, from her play The Hague.
I did not come here to make excuses. I came here to accuse. We are on trial for the war in Ukraine. But we were not at war with Ukraine. We were at war with a country that has long wanted our defeat. The United States of America. Immediately after defeating Germany, the USA has begun to devise an operation to attack the USSR. You remember Churchill's speech? Huh? 1946. And what was NATO created for? The Americans. The Americans, they took our victory for themselves. Even though we lost 25 million and they lost mere thousands. And they made Saving Private Ryan and a Munich deal and Minsk agreements. Why didn't they stop Hitler when he invaded Poland? Why didn't they stop Putin when he invaded Ukraine and when he took the Crimea? Why did they wait? They hesitated. They were waiting for Russia's military power to be depleted. That's why. Oh, how they rejoiced in the collapse of the Union and how much they invested in the colored revolutions. They were afraid of us. And now they rejoice in our defeat. You think you live in a protected, civilized world? Huh? But I know more.
her work is just phenomenal.
So that is a clip from the Arlequin Players Theater. You can reach out to them and try to get a screening of that for your community. His speech goes on to show all the ways that Russia infiltrated America, which we have been reporting on this show. And yeah, it's deep. But yeah, the character who plays the head of RT, Simonian, she walks around the entire time, Jim, with like a little pocket watch trying to hypnotize people. And at the end, none of them take responsibility for their actions. Every single one of them said, I was just doing what I was told. I was just doing my job, just like 100 years ago. And they all blame Putin, who, by the way, is played by a woman in every version of that play, from Poland to Bulgaria to America. Yes.
I found a clip where Sasha tells us what happens when the play was shown in Bulgaria.
Oh, good.
I want to continue on this topic about the Hague in Bulgaria, if I can.
Please.
Yeah.
When we staged The Hague in Sofia in Bulgaria, whole government was present, including pro-Putin party, including pro-Putin politicians and members of embassy, and they were watching the play. And at the moment when Putin appeared on stage, and this role is always played by a woman, brilliantly played by a woman, with this makeup making her look like Putin, and it was so fun, and people looked at it and they started snorting as if it was a seance of exorcism. They couldn't believe that this could be shown on a stage, and that's how it went in that theater, very old theater for 750 plays in a room, and with all those pro-Putin politicians looking at the truth.
Yeah, and Bulgaria, after that play was staged there, got in line to help support Ukraine in any way that they could. And so art as a weapon is very important. It's not just pickle jars. And what we try to tell you on this show is basically anti-democratic, pro-Putin forces, we talked a little bit about this last week, are waging an all fronts information war. And we ask of everybody to become the best potential possible consumers of news that you can. And I'm also asking you to pick up a book from some of the people we interview: Tim Snyder, Jeff Charlotte, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, Jason Stanley, and learn about
Greg Unger.
Learn about the history of what we're fighting. Keir Giles, Ian Garner, so many. Yeah, so that's what I ask. Let's start a book club. Ann Nelson, lots of good stuff out there.
Where you at, Jim?
Where
you at, man?
I'm just listening to you guys and watching the good work. That's all.
Well, you know how I like to drag people along on my journey as I create art, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to close this week with, it's a work in progress, and not all the samples are in and not all the visuals are in. I did this with my last piece, but this one's called, I Am Not a Spy, the Mike Flynn Black Swan remix. And it is a work in progress, but I hope you enjoy what's there right now.
General Michael Flynn is here on the gates of hell.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
Digital soldiers
We have an army, digital soldiers. Digital soldiers. We have an army, digital soldiers. This was an insurgency. We have an army, irregular warfare. White Christian nationalist army, insurgency. Where we go one, we go all. Insurgency. White Christian nationalist army. Where we go one, we go all. Insurgency. Insurgency.
La seguridad no existe. Solo existe